it visible on the web for anyone who's looking for it. So that first problem of visibility has really shifted. The second related area that's changing because of technology is the question of expertise. Back in the newspaper day, the experts were the reporters, the opinion editors, the publishers. They determined what was news and who was going to get it. As the dynamic changes with this kind of always access to information, everybody sharing their deal flow, if you will, who becomes the expert or who's seen as the expert has shifted dramatically. It has left the building, as they used to say about Elvis. The expertise has left the building and it's now out in the community. And it's coming back to someone looking for it in some interesting ways. So one of the most robust examples of how the crowd has become the source of expertise, you can see in what has been a dramatic increase in the last 5 years in the use of philanthropic prizes, where those who are trying to solve a certain problem are actually turning the task of finding the solution over to the community. They're simply putting out a financial incentive and looking for solutions from anyone, anywhere. You've seen this, you may have heard of the X Prize. If you're familiar at all with this community of social enterprise, social entrepreneurs, Ashoka has created an entire platform for this called Changemakers, where what they do is run prize competitions on health, on sports, in the arts, on women's issues. But there's a step beyond that that's important. Because the thing about prizes is only one person wins, but thousands may have entered. And those thousands came oh so close. And all they may have needed to come oh so much closer was to connect with someone else in the thousands. And that's what technology is enabling places like Changemakers, the X Prize folks, the Knight News Challenge, to talk about my media metaphor again, the Knight Foundation, which was born from a media empire, is now busy funding the new structure of media, and it uses a very well-known tech-focused challenge called the Knight News Challenge, where what they're doing is this: they're picking a winner, they're incentivizing and picking a few winners, but they're also gathering those who don't win and enabling them using off-the-shelf technologies that some of you here know far better than I, you probably built them, to connect those folks and keep them moving on the problem. Because the first solution may not be the last solution, and they just keep that community of innovation moving. So the expertise for finding the solution and the expertise for creating the solution has left the typical we hold the money, we'll choose the winners, you'll apply to us kind of way, and really been turned on its head, and then tweaked again with this idea that it's a community of change makers. And if you're interested in launching a prize program, a philanthropic prize program nowadays, Changemakers offers you literally an off-the-shelf solution for launching that into the universe, which it didn't exist 4 years ago, it didn't exist. The other thing that starts to happen in that kind of get the wheel rolling way is once you've addressed this visibility question, you're looking for expertise from outside, you're also creating with each one of these transactions, each one of these prizes, each one of these Twistables, which is a fundraising tool based on Twitter that uses that outside the walls expertise to engage, in the case of the first Twistable last year, hundreds of thousands of people in 100+ cities on every continent to support a single nonprofit. Overnight, literally within a few months, it moved close to $1 million, but more importantly, moved hundreds of thousands of individuals. Once you start thinking about all that action, all those transactions, all that information, you're smack dab in the world of data. And what we're seeing, what's happening right now in the philanthropic industry around you is that data are becoming the platform for change. That information about where is money moving, where is time going, what are the opportunities, what are the metrics of success, all of that is beginning to be accessible on technological platforms Some of them closed and proprietary, but more and more of them open, because as an industry, philanthropy is very interesting. It's one of the few, if not the only, where collusion should be promoted. That is what community foundations are about. Collusion in philanthropy, right? If you find the solution to a problem, share it. Leverage other people's ideas, leverage other people's money. But as data becomes that core organizing force, as it becomes available to be that core organizing force, we're seeing some very interesting experiments where the institutions that used to hold that information are recognizing they'll have a far greater impact if they put it out into the world. Community foundations are leading in this way, and they're leading through two platforms. Really one platform, one is a branded version of the other. The platform is called DonorEdge. The branded version is called Power Philanthropy. And what they're doing is they're realizing with professional staff and dedicated volunteers, community foundations, whether they were formed in 2006 or 1913, the oldest one, have an enormous base of knowledge about the communities they care about. But they can't share that with donors when donors want it. They've had a terribly difficult time getting that information out. So DonorEdge takes all of that internally held knowledge, provides a system for organizing it, and turns it back out to the community. The Columbus Foundation, which is the brander of this, they call it Power Philanthropy, has subsequently used that data and some challenge grants and moved several $1 million 3 times in the last year, so not the best fundraising environment, several $1 million 3 times in the last year in under an hour each time. 42 minutes, I think, was the fastest time it took them to spend the first $1 million challenge grant. So they're using, and they're doing all of the awareness building of it using the organizations who are already in the database. They use their outreach systems. So it's a Columbus area cultural organization that's reaching out and saying, hey, we're part of this Power Philanthropy Challenge. You can make an instant matching grant. You can join your other board members. It all happens in under an hour. And like I said, they've done it 3 times. So what they're doing, this has been a huge culture shift for established community foundations. Columbus is one of the country's oldest, where they put the information out there, draw a little attention to it, and let the community move with that information. So the data is becoming the power that's leading this change. You also know that this doesn't stop there. Once you've got the data out there in a way that people can find it, they build their own networks around it. And some of the most interesting examples, so again, you have, it sort of flips back on itself. You're creating new networks of expertise that can come together around these databases of information. One of the most interesting examples of this that I'm aware of is actually based in Africa. It's focused on crisis information, and it's all mobile phone based. It's called Ushahidi, which has created a entirely dispersed network of mobile phone carrying, which is to say almost everybody on the planet nowadays, mobile phone carrying crisis respondents who can share information about whether it's a natural disaster or water main breaks. I come from San Francisco. We seem to break our water mains on a regular basis. Information is aggregated and dispersed through a website instantly, and they've completely changed the dynamic of how disaster response is happening in these communities. They're building then networks locally of people who will respond around X kind of issue in a certain neighborhood in Nairobi, for example. So it is this constantly iterating dynamic between how people organize themselves and the information they have access to. And this whole business of giving has undergone this transformation where anyone now can get access to this kind of information and then be the organizer of change around it through their peer networks. One next step that's really shaping the current conversation about philanthropy is that once you've sort of moved the power base, if you will, out of the institutions and into the networks, into the communities, into the, through data into the community.